The morning sun rose over New Haven like it had done every day for the past 12 years. The wheat fields stretched across the valley in golden waves. Children played near the central square while their parents worked in the research stations and farms. Nobody expected what was coming. Sarah Mitchell stood in her garden pulling weeds from around the tomato plants. Her daughter Emma was at school learning about Earth history. Her husband worked at the water treatment facility on the east side of the settlement. Life was simple here. Life was good. The first sign of trouble came at 10:47 local time. The colony's sensors detected multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Defense Coordinator James Park stared at his screen with growing concern. 5 ships. No, 7. Their signatures were unknown. They were not human vessels. James reached for the communication panel. His hands shook slightly as he opened the general frequency. Attention, unknown vessels. This is New Haven Colony. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions. Silence answered him for several long seconds. Then a harsh clicking voice responded. Human settlement. We are the Cricsathi Dominion. You will prepare for boarding operations. Resistance will result in termination. James felt his blood run cold. He had heard stories about the Cricsathi. Every human colony had heard the stories. They were raiders, pirates. They attacked weak targets and took whatever they wanted. His fingers flew across the console, activating the emergency quantum relay. The message would reach Earth Fleet Command instantly, but help was weeks away. Everyone knew that. We are a civilian colony, James said, keeping his voice steady. We have no military assets. We request immediate diplomatic contact with your command structure. The response was laughter, cruel, clicking laughter that made his skin crawl. We know what you are, human. We know you are weak. We know you are alone. Your fleet cannot help you. Prepare for our arrival. The Cricsathi ships moved into orbit with practiced efficiency. They were predators who had done this many times before. Their vessels were dark and angular, covered in weapon ports and armor plating. Against them, New Haven had nothing. 3 small shuttles, some construction equipment, a population of 50,000 civilians who came here to farm and study and build new lives far from Earth. James activated the colony-wide alert system. Sirens began to wail across the settlement. People stopped what they were doing and looked up at the sky with fear in their eyes. Parents ran to schools to grab their children. Scientists abandoned their experiments. Farmers left their fields, but there was nowhere to run. New Haven was their home. It was all they had. The Cricsathi dropships descended through the atmosphere like falling meteors. They were not subtle. They did not care about being gentle. The ships landed in the central square, crushing the fountain that the colonists had built together 5 years ago. Hatches opened with hissing sounds. The Cricsathi emerged into the sunlight. They were tall creatures nearly 7 feet high with 4 arms and hard chitinous shells covering their bodies. Their eyes were multifaceted like insects. Their mandibles clicked together as they communicated with each other in their harsh language. Commander Valak stepped forward. He was larger than the others, with battle scars across his shell and decorations marking his rank. He surveyed the frightened humans gathering in the square with something like amusement in his alien features. Humans, he said, his translator converting his clicks into rough human speech. You will gather here. You will bring all valuable materials and technology. You will comply. If you do not comply, we will begin executing your young ones first. Sarah Mitchell stood in the crowd holding Emma tight against her side. Her daughter was crying softly. Around them, other colonists stood in shocked silence. Some of the men looked angry, their fists clenched. But what could they do? The Cricsathi carried weapons, advanced energy rifles, plasma cannons. The humans had farming tools and research equipment. The Cricsathi began their work with brutal efficiency. They moved through the colony in organized groups. They broke into homes and took everything of value. They ransacked the research stations, stealing data and equipment. They burned the fields for no reason except cruelty. The smoke rose into the clear sky like dark fingers. Commander Valax established his command post in the colony's administrative building. He sat in the mayor's chair and broadcast a message across all frequencies. He wanted everyone to hear. He wanted Earth to hear. Humans of the stars, Valax said, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. This is Commander Valax of the Cricsathi Dominion. We have taken your colony called New Haven. Your people are now our prisoners. Your possessions are now ours. We do this because we can. We do this because you are weak. He gestured to his soldiers, who dragged several colonists forward. Children, elderly, scientists. They forced them to their knees in front of the camera. Look at them, Valax continued. Look at how helpless they are. This is the truth of humanity. You spread across the stars like soft insects. You build your little farms and your little research stations. You think you are safe. You are not safe. You are prey. And we are the predators. The broadcast ended. Valax leaned back in the stolen chair and laughed. His soldiers laughed with him. They had done this to 6 other species in the past decade. It was always the same. The weak colonies called for help. Help came too late. The Cricsathi took what they wanted and left before military vessels could arrive. But Valax did not know something important. He did not know about the quantum relay system that every human colony possessed. He did not know that his entire attack had been transmitted to Earth Fleet Command in real time. He did not know that his image, his voice, his threats were now being watched by people who would not forgive or forget. On Earth, in the deep military command center beneath the Atlantic Ocean, Admiral Chen watched the broadcast with cold eyes. Her face showed no emotion. Her hands did not shake. But everyone in the room could feel the temperature drop. How long until the 7th Fleet can reach New Haven? She asked quietly. 36 hours, Admiral, her operations officer replied. We can have them there in 36 hours. Admiral Chen nodded slowly. She looked at the frozen image of Commander Valax on the screen. She looked at the frightened colonists kneeling before him. She made her decision. Deploy the 7th Fleet, full combat loadout, maximum speed. What are the engagement protocols, Admiral? Admiral Chen's expression did not change. Her voice remained cold and steady. No warnings. No negotiations. They attacked civilians. They threatened children. When we arrive, we end this completely. The operations officer swallowed hard and nodded. He had served with Admiral Chen for 15 years. He had never heard her voice sound like that before, like ice, like death itself. Across the solar system, the 7th Fleet received their orders. Ships that had been docked at Mars Orbital began powering up their systems. Crews ran to their stations. Weapons were loaded. Fighters were prepped. The fleet was humanity's sword, kept sharp and ready for the day it would be needed. That day had come. On New Haven, night was falling. The colonists huddled together under guard. The Cricsathi celebrated their easy victory. Commander Valax drank stolen human wine and planned which colony to raid next. None of them knew that humanity's fleet was already moving through the darkness between stars. Coming fast, coming angry, coming without mercy. The command center deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean hummed with quiet activity. Officers moved between stations with practiced efficiency. Display screens showed star charts, fleet positions, and tactical data. But everyone's attention was focused on the large central screen that showed New Haven. Admiral Rebecca Chen stood with her hands clasped behind her back. She was 53 years old with gray streaking through her black hair. Her uniform was crisp and perfect. Her face was calm, but her eyes were the eyes of a woman who had made a decision that would change everything. Status report, she said quietly. Commander Williams stepped forward with a data pad. The 7th Fleet is assembling now, Admiral. All ships are responding. We have 12 heavy carriers, 40 destroyers, 8 cruisers, and supporting vessels. Total complement of 417 ships, and the retribution? Captain Rodriguez reports his ship will be ready to deploy in 3 hours. All systems are at full combat status. Admiral Chen nodded. The retribution was her flagship. A massive vessel built in the shipyards orbiting Mars. Most alien species had never seen a human heavy carrier. Earth had made sure of that. Humanity had been very careful about what it showed the galaxy. Connect me to the Council of Defense, Chen said. Moments later, the faces of Earth's military leadership appeared on surrounding screens. Generals, admirals, intelligence directors. They looked grim. We have all seen the broadcast from New Haven, Chen began. The Cricsathi Dominion has attacked a civilian colony. They have taken hostages. They have threatened children. They believe we are weak. They believe we cannot respond. I am requesting authorization for full military response. General Thomas Price spoke first. He was the oldest person in the council, a veteran of the resource wars that had unified Earth decades ago. Admiral Chen, if we reveal our true military capacity, we change the entire diplomatic situation with the galaxy. Every species will reassess their position toward humanity. Are we ready for that? General, with respect, they attacked our people. They attacked farmers and scientists and children. If we do not respond with overwhelming force, every other predator species in the galaxy will see us as prey. We will face attacks on every frontier colony we have. Another council member, Director Sarah Okonkwo of Diplomatic Intelligence, leaned forward. The Cricsathi are not the only ones watching, Admiral. The Vryn Collective, the Thelos Union, even the peaceful Moran Federation will see what we do next. This will define how humanity is viewed for generations. Then let them see what happens when someone attacks human civilians, Chen replied, her voice hard. Let every species in the galaxy understand this one simple truth. Humanity seeks peace. We trade fairly. We negotiate honestly. But we do not tolerate attacks on the innocent. Not now. Not ever. The council members exchanged glances. Finally, General Price spoke again. You have authorization, Admiral. Full combat deployment. Rules of engagement? Admiral Chen's expression did not change. Overwhelming force. Rapid termination of hostile vessels. Capture of leadership for tribunal. Zero tolerance for hostage threats. The Cricsathi chose this. We will finish it. The council gave their approval and the screens went dark. Commander Williams cleared his throat. Admiral, some of the intelligence analysts are concerned about collateral damage. The Cricsathi ships are in close proximity to the colony. Our people are the best in the galaxy, Chen said. They will do their jobs. Prepare my shuttle. I'm going to the Retribution. At Mars Orbital Shipyards, Captain Marcus Rodriguez walked through the corridors of his ship. The Retribution was enormous, over 2 kilometers long. Its hull was dark gray, covered in armor plating and weapon systems. Inside, it carried 300 fighter craft, 2,000 Marines, and a crew of 8,000. Marcus had been born on Mars. He had joined Earth Fleet at 18. Now at 42, he commanded the most powerful warship humanity had ever built, and most of the galaxy did not even know it existed. He entered the bridge. Officers stood at attention. At ease, Marcus said. Status? All systems green, Captain, his first officer reported. Reactors at full power. Weapons charged. Fighter wings ready for deployment. We can depart in 90 minutes. Marcus nodded and looked at the main display screen. It showed New Haven. He could see the Cricsathi ships in orbit. He could see the smoke rising from the burning fields. He thought about the people down there. Frightened, helpless, waiting for help that they probably thought would never come. Listen up, Marcus said, his voice carrying across the bridge. Everyone has seen what happened at New Haven. The Cricsathi think they can attack our people without consequences. They think we are weak. They think we are soft. They are about to learn how wrong they are. The crew listened in silence. Humanity did not come to the stars looking for war, Marcus continued. We came looking for knowledge, for new homes, for friendship with other species. But we came prepared. We have always been prepared. Because we remember our history. We remember what happens when peaceful people are not ready to defend themselves. He paused and looked at each station. When we arrive at New Haven, there will be no warnings. No negotiations, no mercy. The Cricsathi attacked civilians. They threatened children. They chose violence. We will show them what violence really looks like. We will show the entire galaxy that humanity protects its own. The crew responded with determination in their eyes. They understood. They were ready. Admiral Chen arrived aboard the Retribution 2 hours later. She took her position on the flag bridge, the command center for fleet operations. Around her, tactical officers monitored every ship in the 7th Fleet. All vessels report ready, Admiral, Commander Williams said. Chen looked at the display showing their route to New Haven. 36 hours through quantum slip space. Most alien species needed weeks to travel that distance. Humanity had developed faster drives and kept them secret. It was one of many secrets. Fleet will depart in sequence, Chen ordered. Maintain combat spacing. All ships to battle stations once we enter New Haven system. Communications blackout until after first strike. Yes, Admiral. The Retribution's massive engines powered up. The ship began moving away from Mars, accelerating smoothly. One by one, the other vessels of the 7th Fleet followed. Carriers, destroyers, cruisers, supply ships. They moved into formation like a school of predatory fish. As they approached the quantum slip point, Chen allowed herself a moment of reflection. She thought about the path that had brought humanity to this moment. The wars on Earth that had nearly destroyed them. The hard lessons learned about strength and peace. The decision to explore the stars but to do so carefully, quietly, always ready. She thought about Commander Valax, about his arrogant broadcast, about the way he had laughed while threatening human children. He thought humanity was weak. He was about to discover the truth. The fleet entered quantum slipspace. Reality bent around them as they moved faster than light, traveling through dimensions that most species barely understood. The journey would take 36 hours. The Cricsathi had no idea what was coming. In the crew quarters, soldiers checked their weapons. Pilots ran simulations. Engineers triple-checked every system. Everyone knew this was different. This was not a patrol. This was not a training exercise. This was war. Quick, brutal, decisive. A young lieutenant named Maria Santos sat in the fighter bay, looking at her combat craft. She had trained for 5 years. She had never fired a weapon in anger. Now she would. For the colonists on New Haven. For the children threatened by alien raiders. For humanity. Nervous? Her wing commander asked. Maria nodded. Yes, sir. But ready? Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Just remember your training. Follow your leaders. Trust your wingmates. We are the best in the galaxy. We're going to show the Cricsathi what that means. The fleet moved through the darkness between stars. Silent. Fast. Deadly. On New Haven, the colonists endured their second night of captivity. The Cricsathi grew more confident, more cruel. They did not know that help was coming. They did not know that humanity's sword had been drawn. Admiral Chen stood on the flag bridge watching the countdown timer. 34 hours, 33, 32. They made their choice, she said quietly to Commander Williams. Now they will learn what it costs to attack humanity. Commander Valax sat in the stolen chair and drank more human wine. It was his third day on New Haven. His ships were loaded with valuable materials. His soldiers had rounded up the most useful humans for potential slave labor. Everything was going according to plan. Commander, one of his officers clicked. Should we prepare to depart? We have taken everything of value. Valax waved a dismissive claw. Not yet. I want their rescue fleet to arrive and find ashes. I want them to know they were too slow. Prepare to execute the hostages tomorrow morning. Broadcast it on all frequencies. Let humanity watch their people die. The officer hesitated. Sir, is that wise? They will seek revenge. Valax laughed, his mandibles clicking together. Let them seek. By the time their slow fleet arrives, we will be gone. And if they do find us, what will they do? The humans are weak. They have no stomach for real war. They are farmers and scientists, not warriors. High above New Haven in the cold darkness of orbit, the Cricsathi ships maintained their positions. Sensors scanned space casually. The crews were relaxed. They had done this many times. Raid a weak colony, take what they wanted, leave before military forces could respond. It was easy, almost boring. The sensor operator on the lead Cricsathi cruiser was playing a game on his console when the alarm started screaming. He jerked upright, his forearms scrambling across the controls. What he saw made his blood freeze. 7 ships had just appeared. No, 12. No, 20. More were appearing every second. They were massive. They were everywhere, and they had appeared without warning, dropping out of quantum slipspace in perfect tactical formation. Contacts! He screamed into the communication system. Multiple hostile contacts. They are surrounding us. On every Cricsathi vessel, alarms blared. Crews rushed to battle stations. Weapon systems powered up, but they were too slow. They had been caught completely unprepared. Admiral Chen stood on the flag bridge of the Retribution. Around her, tactical displays showed every Cricsathi ship highlighted in red. Every human ship glowed blue. The formation was perfect. The enemy was bracketed. Trapped. All ships report ready, Admiral, Commander Williams said calmly. Chen looked at the display for one more second. She thought about the colonists below, about the children threatened by Valax, about the burning fields and stolen property. Her face remained expressionless. All ships, she said quietly. Fire. The 7th Fleet opened fire as one. The darkness of space erupted with light. Railguns launched projectiles at incredible speeds. Energy weapons cut through the void. Missiles streaked toward their targets like angry hornets. The Cricsathi ships raised their shields. They were proud of those shields. They were state-of-the-art technology. They could withstand significant punishment, but they had never faced human weapons before. The railgun projectiles hit first. They were simple weapons. Just metal slugs accelerated to enormous speeds. But they hit with devastating force. The Cricsathi shields flickered, strained, and then collapsed under the sustained barrage. The energy weapons followed, focused beams of directed energy that cut through armor like it was paper. Explosions blossomed across the Cricsathi vessels. Atmosphere vented into space. Systems failed. Ships began to die. Enemy vessels attempting to return fire, the tactical officer reported. Point defense systems engage, Chen ordered. The Cricsathi weapons fire was met by a wall of defensive fire. Human ships deployed countermeasures, intercepted missiles, deflected energy beams. The enemy weapons seemed to move in slow motion compared to human technology. Captain Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching his fighter wings deploy. 300 small craft launched from the carrier's bays. They streamed into space like a swarm of metallic insects. Each one was piloted by a human who had trained their entire life for this moment. Lieutenant Maria Santos felt her fighter launch. The acceleration pushed her back into her seat. Then she was free, flying through space with her wing. Her hands moved across the controls with practiced precision. Her heads-up display showed target locks, enemy ships' opportunities. Goldwing, engage the cruiser at Mark 37, her commander ordered. Goldwing confirms, Maria replied. Her voice was steady despite the fear and excitement pumping through her veins. The human fighters moved with incredible speed and agility. They were small, fast, deadly. They swarmed the larger Cricsathi vessels, targeting weapon systems and engines. Their weapons might be smaller than the capital ships, but they were precise. Surgical. On the Cricsathi flagship, Commander Valax stared at his displays in horror. How was this possible? The human fleet had arrived in less than 3 days. They had appeared without warning. Their weapons were devastatingly effective. His ships were being torn apart. Return fire, he screamed. All ships concentrate fire on their lead vessel. But coordination was impossible. The human ships moved too fast. Their formations shifted and flowed like liquid. Every time the Cricsathi tried to focus on one target, another ship would strike from a different angle. Sir, we have lost the destroyer claw. The cruiser Fang is venting atmosphere. Our shields are failing. Valax felt panic rising in his throat. This was not supposed to happen. Humans were weak. Everyone knew that. They built farms, not warships. They were prey, not predators. Broadcast a message, Valax ordered desperately. Tell them we have hostages on the surface. Tell them if they do not cease fire, we will execute every human in the colony. Down on New Haven's surface, Sarah Mitchell heard the sounds of battle in orbit. Everyone did. The Cricsathi guards looked up at the sky nervously. Something was happening, something their commanders had not expected. Then the sky lit up with streaks of light. Dozens of them. Hundreds of them. They were small craft entering the atmosphere at combat speeds. Dropships, but not Cricsathi dropships. These were sleek and fast, and they moved with deadly purpose. The Cricsathi guards raised their weapons, pointing them at the human colonists. But before they could act, the first human dropship landed. The ramp dropped, and Marines emerged. They wore powered armor, advanced combat suits that made them faster and stronger. Their weapons were held ready, and they moved like professionals who had done this 1,000 times before. Drop your weapons, the Marine commander's voice boomed through external speakers. Surrender now or be terminated. Some Cricsathi tried to fight. It was over in seconds. Human weapons fire was precise, controlled, deadly. The Cricsathi who raised their rifles were put down before they could fire. The ones who surrendered were quickly restrained. More dropships landed across the colony. Marines moved through the settlement with perfect coordination. They had studied the layout. They knew where every hostage was held. They knew where every guard was stationed. This was not a rescue operation. This was a combat extraction performed by the best soldiers humanity could produce. Sarah held Emma tight as a Marine approached them. The soldier's armor was intimidating, but his voice was gentle. Ma'am, you are safe now. Please proceed to the evacuation point. Medical teams are standing by. Who are you? Sarah asked, her voice shaking. United Earth Marines, ma'am. We are here to take you home. In orbit, the battle continued, but it was not really a battle anymore. It was an execution. The Cricsathi fleet was being systematically destroyed. Ship after ship fell silent, their systems dead, their crews killed or surrendered. Commander Valax's flagship was crippled, but not destroyed. Admiral Chen had given specific orders. She wanted the enemy commander alive. She wanted him to stand trial. She wanted the galaxy to see justice done. "Sir, they are boarding us," a Cricsathi officer screamed. Valax heard the sounds of cutting torches. Human Marines were breaching the hull. He drew his sidearm with one shaking claw, but he knew it was over. He had made a terrible mistake. He had attacked the wrong species. The bulkhead exploded inward. Marines poured through, their weapons trained on every Cricsathi in the command center. Valax raised his weapon, but a human plasma bolt struck it, melting it in his claw. He dropped it with a shriek of pain. A Marine officer stepped forward and removed his helmet. His face was hard, unforgiving. "Commander Valax, you are under arrest for war crimes, attacks on civilian populations, and threats against children. You will be transported to Earth for tribunal. You have no rights. You have no mercy. You attacked our people. This is the consequence." Valax was dragged away. He tried to speak, to threaten, to bargain. But the humans did not care. They did not listen. Admiral Chen watched from the Retribution as the last Cricsathi vessel was disabled. The entire engagement had lasted 17 minutes. 17 minutes from first shot to complete victory. "Status report," she said. "All enemy vessels destroyed or captured," Commander Williams reported. "All hostages secured. 0 civilian casualties. We lost 3 fighters. 4 wounded. No fatalities," Chen nodded slowly. "Secure the prisoners. Begin salvage operations. Send the medical ships to the surface. I want this colony rebuilt within the month." "Yes, Admiral." Chen looked at the tactical display one more time. The Cricsathi had come to New Haven expecting easy prey. They had found something very different. They had found humanity unleashed. Commander Valax sat in the holding cell aboard the Retribution. The walls were smooth metal. The door had no handle. Guards in powered armor stood outside, watching him through transparent barriers. He was alone with his thoughts for the first time since his capture. His claws trembled. His mandibles clicked nervously. Everything had gone wrong. The humans were supposed to be weak, soft, easy targets. Instead, they had destroyed his entire raiding fleet in 17 minutes. 17 minutes, the door opened. Admiral Chen entered, followed by 2 Marines. She wore her uniform perfectly. Her expression showed nothing. She looked at Valax the way someone might look at an insect. "Commander Valax," she said. Her voice was calm, cold. "Do you understand your situation?" Valax tried to summon his old arrogance. "I demand to be treated according to the Galactic Conventions of Warfare. I am a military officer. I have rights." "Rights?" Chen raised an eyebrow. "You attacked a civilian colony. You threatened to execute children. You broadcast your intentions across open channels for everyone to hear. You are not a soldier. You are a terrorist, a pirate, and you will be treated as such." She gestured to one of the Marines who activated a holographic display. It showed the battle. Every moment recorded from multiple angles. The Cricsathi ships being destroyed, the Marines rescuing the hostages, the precision and power of human military forces. "This footage will be transmitted to every government in the galaxy," Chen said, "along with the recordings of your threats against civilians. Everyone will see what you did. Everyone will see what happened to you." "You cannot do this," Valax said, fear creeping into his voice. "The Cricsathi Dominion will retaliate. We are a powerful empire, are you?" Chen asked. "Tell me, Commander, how many of your ships escaped?" Valax said nothing. "None," Chen answered her own question. 0. Every single vessel in your raiding fleet was destroyed or captured. Every single one. And you want to know something interesting? This was only the 7th fleet. Humanity has 12 fleet groups, each one as powerful as the force you just faced." She leaned forward. "You thought we were weak because we build farms and research stations. You thought we were helpless because we seek peaceful relations with other species. You made assumptions. You were wrong." Valax's forearms wrapped around himself. "What will you do with me? You will stand trial on Earth. You will answer for your crimes. Then you will serve as a message to every other species that thinks about attacking human civilians." Chen stood. "You chose this path, Commander. You chose to attack the helpless. Now you face the consequences." She turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing. Every captive you took has been returned safely to their families. Every building you burned will be rebuilt. Every field you destroyed will be replanted. In 6 months, New Haven will be stronger than ever. Your attack accomplished nothing except your own destruction." The door closed. Phalanx was alone again. Down on New Haven's surface, the reconstruction had already begun. Human engineering ships had arrived within hours of the battle. They carried advanced construction equipment, medical supplies, and everything needed to rebuild a colony. Sarah Mitchell stood in front of her house. Or rather, where her house had been. The Cricsathi had burned it, but already construction teams were clearing the wreckage. A human engineer approached her with a smile. "Ma'am, we will have a new house built for you within 3 days. Same layout as before unless you want changes. Better materials. Stronger structure. It will be an upgrade." Sarah shook her head in amazement. 3 days? How is that possible? We have been building colonies for 50 years, ma'am. We are very good at it. The engineer consulted his tablet. You will stay in temporary housing until then. Comfortable, private. Your daughter will have her own room. Emma tugged on her mother's sleeve. Mom, can I go watch the Marines? Sarah looked over to where a group of Marines was helping clear debris. They had removed their helmets. They were talking and laughing with the colonists. Some were playing with children. These warriors who had rescued them were also kind. Human. Stay where I can see you, Sarah said. Emma ran over to the Marines. One of them, a tall woman with dark skin, smiled and showed Emma her combat armor. Other children gathered around asking questions. The Marines answered patiently. A medical ship landed near the colony's hospital. Doctors and nurses emerged, carrying equipment. They set up temporary medical stations. They began treating colonists who had been injured during the raid. Advanced human medicine, fast, effective. James Park, the defense coordinator, stood in the rebuilt command center. It had taken the engineers 12 hours to reconstruct it. 12 hours. The new version was better than the original. Stronger walls, better sensors, more communication systems. A Navy captain stood beside him. We are installing a proper defense grid, automated weapon platforms, shield generators, early warning satellites. This colony will never be vulnerable again. Thank you, James said quietly. We thought no one would come. We thought we were alone. You were never alone, the captain replied. Every human colony is protected. We just did not advertise how well. That was intentional. We wanted potential enemies to make assumptions, to think we were weak. The Cricsathi did exactly that. It was a trap, not a trap, a test. We hoped we would never need to show our strength. But when someone attacks our people, we respond quickly, decisively, without mercy. The captain looked at James. The galaxy needed to see this, needed to understand that humanity will not tolerate attacks on civilians. In orbit, Captain Rodriguez supervised the salvage operations. The destroyed Cricsathi ships were being analyzed. Their technology was being studied. Their weapons were being examined. Everything was being cataloged and recorded. His first officer approached. Captain, we have finished interrogating the prisoners. Most of them are simple soldiers. They followed orders. But several officers were involved in planning attacks on civilians. Separate them, Rodriguez ordered. The soldiers will be treated according to military conventions. The officers will stand trial for war crimes. Yes, sir. Rodriguez looked at the wreckage floating in space. The Cricsathi had been so confident, so arrogant. They learned too late that confidence without knowledge was suicide. Aboard the Retribution, Admiral Chen prepared her official report. It would go to Earth Fleet Command, to the Galactic Council, to every government that maintained diplomatic relations with humanity. She recorded her message carefully. This is Admiral Rebecca Chen of the United Earth Fleet. On October 15, 2025, the Cricsathi Dominion conducted an unprovoked attack on the human colony of New Haven. They took hostages. They threatened civilians. They broadcast their intentions to execute prisoners. She paused, letting her words sink in. Humanity responded with appropriate force. The Cricsathi fleet was destroyed in 17 minutes. All hostages were rescued unharmed. The enemy commander and his officers are in custody and will stand trial for war crimes. She looked directly at the camera. Let me be absolutely clear about humanity's position. We came to the stars seeking peace. We trade fairly. We negotiate honestly. We help those in need. We ask only to be left to build our lives in peace. Her expression hardened. But we are not helpless. We are not weak. We are not prey. Any species that attacks human civilians will face the full might of Earth's military. We will protect our people. We will defend our colonies. We will show no mercy to those who threaten the innocent. Humanity seeks friends, not subjects, partners, not servants. But understand this. We remember our history. We remember what it means to be helpless. We swore we would never be helpless again. And we keep our promises. The recording ended. It would reach every corner of known space within days. On New Haven, night fell. But this night was different. The Cricsathi were gone. Human ships orbited overhead, keeping watch. Marines patrolled the settlement, ensuring safety. Engineers worked through the night, rebuilding homes. Sarah sat with Emma in their temporary quarters. They had food, safety, hope. Mom, Emma asked, why did they come so fast? I thought help was weeks away. Sarah smiled and hugged her daughter. Because we are human, sweetheart. And humans protect their own. Always. Outside, the construction continued. The fields would be replanted. The buildings would be rebuilt. The colony would grow stronger. And across the galaxy, governments received Admiral Chen's message. They watched the footage of the battle. They saw what happened when someone attacked humanity. Some governments immediately withdrew any hostile intentions toward human space. Others began reassessing their military capabilities. A few species reached out to Earth, requesting diplomatic talks. The Cricsathi Dominion received the message in their capital city. Their High Council watched in silence as their invincible raiding fleet was destroyed in 17 minutes. They saw Commander Valax dragged away in chains. They understood the implications. The strongest voice on their council spoke quietly. We have made a grave error. We attacked a species that was deliberately hiding its strength. We must sue for peace immediately. They will demand reparations, another council member said, then we will pay. We attacked their civilians. They showed us mercy by not destroying our entire fleet, by not attacking our homeworld. We will accept whatever terms they offer, because the alternative is extinction. The great chamber floated in the darkness of space, spinning slowly around the neutral world below. Inside, the air hummed with tension, as delegates from 17 different species gathered for what everyone knew would be a historic moment. The Galactic Council had not held an emergency session like this in over 300 years. Ambassador Kethral stood at the center platform, his chitinous armor gleaming under the soft lights. He was Vryn, and the Vryn were warriors. His 4 arms spread wide in a gesture of authority, as his multifaceted eyes swept across the chamber. The other delegates watched him with varying degrees of concern on their alien faces. For 4,000 years, Kethral's voice boomed through the translation network. We have honored the armistice. We have respected the boundaries set by our ancestors. We have allowed the humans to hide behind their walls alone on their primitive world. In the human delegation pod, Ambassador Sarah Chen sat perfectly still. She wore a simple gray suit, her dark hair pulled back in a neat style. Her hands rested calmly on the arms of her chair. Next to her, 2 junior diplomats shifted nervously, but Sarah did not move. But patience has limits, Kethral continued. The humans refuse to share their homeworld. They refuse to trade. They refuse to join galactic society. This is an insult to all of us who have built civilization together. The Catherine delegate, a being made of living crystal, chimed softly. The sound translated as concern. The armistice exists for reasons lost to time. Perhaps we should not. The reasons are clear, Kethral interrupted. Our ancestors feared human aggression. But look at them now. They hide, they cower. They are no threat to anyone. Sarah's lips twitched slightly. One of her assistants glanced at her, confused by what might have been the ghost of a smile. Therefore, Kethral announced, his voice rising with ceremony, the Vryn Collective formally declares the armistice void. We will take corrective military action against the human territories. We will bring them into the galactic community by force if necessary. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Delegates from a dozen species began speaking at once, their translation devices creating a chaotic symphony of sounds. The elder races, those who had existed during the original war, looked particularly disturbed. Through it all, Sarah Chen remained seated. She did not argue. She did not stand to object. She simply watched Kethral with an expression that was difficult to read. Finally, the council speaker, a floating mass of tentacles and sensory organs from the Quelm species, called for order. The human delegation will respond. Sarah stood slowly. She moved with careful precision, walking to the center platform with measured steps. When she reached the speaking position, she looked directly at Kethral. The Vryn warrior towered over her small human frame, but she did not seem intimidated. "Ambassador Ketherall," she said quietly, her voice carrying clearly through the translation network. "You have made your position clear. The Vryn Collective wishes to end the armistice and engage in military action against human space." "Yes," Ketherall confirmed proudly. "Your isolation ends today," Sarah nodded once. Then something changed in her expression. Her face became colder, harder. The corners of her mouth turned up in a smile, but it was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret, a terrible secret, and was watching someone else walk toward disaster. "So be it," she said simply. "We'll be waiting." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Several delegates who had been about to speak fell silent. There was something in her tone, something in that cold smile that triggered ancient instincts across multiple species. "Danger," those instincts whispered. "Predator." "That's it?" Ketherall laughed, a chittering sound. "No begging? No negotiation?" "No," Sarah replied. "You've made your choice. We respect that. The armistice is ended by your declaration. Humanity accepts this reality." She turned to address the entire council. "To the other members of this body, I say this. Humanity did not want this. We have honored the armistice faithfully for 4,000 years. What happens next is not our choice." The crystalline Catherine delegate chimed urgently. "Ambassador Chen, perhaps we could mediate." The time for mediation ended when Ambassador Ketherall made his declaration formal. Sarah interrupted gently. "But I thank you for the offer, honored Catherine. Your people have always been wise." She looked around the chamber one more time. "I recommend that all neutral parties maintain their distance from human space for the next 6 months. For your own safety. Threats?" Ketherall sneered. "You think we fear your ancient defensive platforms? Your outdated fleets?" Sarah's cold smile widened just a fraction. "I'm not threatening anyone, Ambassador. I'm giving friendly advice to species we have no quarrel with." She walked back to her pod. As she sat down, one of her assistants leaned close and whispered, "Should we contact Earth Command?" "No need," Sarah replied quietly. They knew this was coming. "Everything is already in motion." The assistant looked confused. But how could they know? Sarah's expression softened slightly as she looked at the young diplomat. "Because we've been preparing for someone to break the armistice for the entire 4,000 years. We knew eventually someone would forget why the armistice existed in the first place." Across the chamber, the other delegates were engaged in heated debates. The younger species, those born long after the original war, seemed split between supporting the Vryn or remaining neutral. The older species were trying desperately to explain something, but their warnings were going unheeded. The Quelm speaker attempted to call for a vote to reverse the declaration, but the Vryn delegation walked out followed by their allies. The vote failed. As the session dissolved into chaos, Sarah Chen gathered her materials calmly. She noticed that several of the eldest delegates were staring at her with what looked like fear. The Catherine ambassador approached her pod. "Ambassador Chen," the crystal being chimed, its tones mournful. "I am old. I do not remember the war, but I remember the stories my predecessor left in our memory cores. Sealed stories. Classified stories. Then you know," Sarah said quietly. "I know that the armistice was not to protect humanity." The Catherine confirmed. "I know that the Vryn have made a terrible mistake, but I do not know why you seem almost pleased." Sarah considered the question carefully. "Not pleased," honored Catherine, sad. "We gave the galaxy 4,000 years to grow, to become better, to learn. Instead, they learned to build bigger weapons and forgot the lessons of the past. Will you destroy them?" the crystal being asked fearfully. "No," Sarah said firmly. "We will teach them again, but this time the lesson will be harder because they chose not to remember the first one." She left the chamber with her delegation. Behind her, the Galactic Council descended into arguments and accusations. But Sarah Chen did not look back. She had a video call to make to Earth, and then she had to watch as the Vryn learned what humanity had become during 4,000 years of isolation. On her personal communicator, a message waited from Earth Defense Command. It contained only 2 words: "Protocol active." Sarah closed her eyes briefly. Then she opened them and that cold smile returned. The Vryn wanted war. They were about to discover that humanity had spent 4 millennia becoming very, very good at it.